call this meeting to order, May 20th, 5:30, for a regular Board of Selectmen meeting. In attendance is Jude Reed, Select Woman, Jim Lampos, Selectman, Martha Shoemaker, First Select Woman, and we have a few guests in the audience as well as our clerk, Suzanne McCullough. All right, so our attendance is done. Information items. Is there anything? I've heard from two people regarding the legality of the executive session, and our attorney will certainly be here later to deal with that.
I received one from Dr. Carl Friedman on Cold Lane. Is that one of the two you're talking about?
I believe, yes, that's the
Okay.
second one.
Good. I was not sure if you had it as well.
I received an from Mr. Atkinson about response to his letter of the 26th.
And then also just so, again, all of you who are on the phone, we need you to mute yourselves. Paula, I need you to mute your phone. There should be a thing where it says mute, little.
I believe.
Kate, thank you, Kate. And whoever's 860-508-1058, would you please mute your phone? Your microphone is on. Thank you. Okay, just so you know, last week on the 15th, I attended a forum to discuss ending child poverty in Connecticut. It was at the Waterford Public Library. Many of our state reps were there. And I was with Dan Cunningham from Eastline and Danielle Cheeseborough from Stonington. Rob Rule was there for a while from Waterford, but just discussing childhood poverty in and around southeastern Connecticut. And I will be participating in some more of their conversations as the year goes through. All right. Anybody else have anything for any communications, correspondences they want to share? No?
No.
Okay. All right. We are ready for public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to offer public comment? If so, please state your name and your address and come forward so you can speak into a mic. And I'm just going to flip yours over so it can be at your chair.
John Atkinson, 14 Colt Lane. I have four things all on Tantumahig. I'll be brief. Selectman Lampos, we had an email exchange back in late April regarding public safety, regarding whether the town was going to take any action to prevent people from being harassed. They attempt to use their legally used Tantumahig landing. I have not heard anything. You said in your quote in your email you would take it seriously and thought I had good suggestions. I'm asking whether that's been followed up on, whether as we move into the spring season and that Tantumahig gets more use, whether the townspeople will be safe there from harassment and police calls.
Just remember, you can't respond during public comment. He can ask and then we can do it at discussion.
Thank you. Secondly, 2 weeks ago, I mentioned the fact that the signs had been stolen and that the town should institute a police investigation. I was in writing and verbally. I don't believe anything's happened. Yes, Selectmen, you're supposed to be good stewards of our resources.
Can I just get clarification? Signs, are you talking about
The Tantumahig landing signs.
You're talking about the brass.
I don't know what they were. I just remember seeing them. They said Tantumahig landing and they've been missing.
Okay.
It's quite known in the community what happened to them, but I don't know for a fact, so therefore I won't speculate.
Okay.
Someone did say that they had found them behind the wall, put them back up, and then they were removed again. Who would do that? I have no idea. But you're supposed to be stewards of our resources. Our tax dollars went to that. And if you think I'm being harsh, that we should just let our money go to waste. I noted that New London, which is not exactly a bastion of conservative police state, actually had someone arrested for vandalizing signs. Why we don't do that, I don't know, but I submit that for the record. Thirdly, I emailed the selectmen as well as the community today I went down to Tentamee Landing with the Fanning survey. I was not aware how much land the town owns there. It's quite more extensive than I had been led to believe. It is not just that sloping road. It extends far to the south. I believe you may not have had a chance to see it, but I did send an email with pictures. It's in your email box. We own within 80 feet of the house that now belongs to Mr. Frampton. We own a good portion of this frontage. It's very clear from the surveys. We own an extensive part of what he's landscaped and what he's grassed. If the town were to take this seriously, and I'm still hoping that they will, that would make an outstanding place to put your kayaks in. That would have very easy to do, very inexpensive to improve, and it would have several advantages over Pilgrim Landing. The primary one being that you don't have that issue with people trying to pull off 156 and get totaled by traffic as they try and get into Pilgrim's Landing. If I asked you to take a look at that, I'm happy to walk it with anyone. I would suggest that the selectmen consider a budget of a couple $1,000s to have the monuments located. I could do it, but you probably want to have a surveyor do it. And someone, again, I have no idea who, and I don't want to cast aspersions, but has covered up those monuments. I would suggest that you get a quote to do it, send the bill to Mr. Frampton's landscaper, because I'm sure he knows what caused it to be done. But the monuments are there, or they were there at one point, as recently as 20 years ago. They probably are still there unless they were removed, but they certainly could be relocated at a very insignificant cost. As selectmen, you're responsible for letting townspeople know what they own. And I think there are a lot of people operating under the misunderstanding that we own only the thing to the right by the cove. We in fact own quite a bit of good usable frontage there. Lastly, my fourth point is on the executive session, the double secret executive session. I strongly disagree that you have the right to go into executive session, but I respect the fact that you're going to rely on your attorney. Executive session should only be used when there's a settlement offer on the table, so that you can respond to it and not negotiate in public. That I understand. But the three things I've mentioned, all of which relate to Tentamee Landing, should not be discussed in executive session. And I don't understand why aren't making the public aware of these items we've talked about and I've talked about and brought up out, and they seem to be just being cast aside. So I thank you for your time and your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, is there anyone else in the audience who would like public comment? Okay, is there anyone on the phone who would like public comment? If you're on the phone and you would like to have public comment, please unmute yourself and state your name and your address. Anyone? Going once, going twice, 3 times, moving on. Okay, we have the approval of our minutes for May 6th next. And does anyone have any corrections?
I do.
Okay.
I don't remember saying this, and I just don't know if it's correct or not. That I made, this is page 2 under Osprey Festival, that I made the motion and I seconded it. Is that possible?
I do not think that would be.
I don't, if it is, great, but I don't think it's correct.
Okay.
And
I will go back to the minutes,
yeah,
to
because
the tape.
that wouldn't be
check
my
that.
intent, but
No, I don't think we would have let you do that.
I didn't think so. And then under number 8, old business, 3rd line down, it says updates on CT River Bridge project. It's River Bridge project. It's just a little typo. I understand it's just minutes. It's not a recording. Under 9, Selectmen general discussion. I don't remember, but I may have said it's Tentamee Landing should be accessible. I don't remember saying to pedestrians. Okay,
So did you go back to listen?
I have not. I just read these before I came.
Okay.
I think I wanted accessible to the public was my concern, but yeah. And that I felt the purpose of the meeting, I would support, I don't know how this would be, if it's to make better neighbors and to work respectfully, I was not in favor of turning over the MOU, which you did indicate that here. So, thank you. Rebecca. Anybody else?
Jim, anything?
Just a couple of typos. Number 2, first word
Oh, yeah.
should be present.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Missed that one, Jim.
And second page under new business, Stephanie's name was misspelled.
I'm sorry.
Stephanie, it should be Stephanie Livesey, Livesey.
Oh,
And there's an N missing in Stephanie.
got it.
Yep.
Okay.
Anything else?
Osprey Festival Committee, I believe it's Mary Kate Parker. It's Mary Kay.
Yep.
So slow housekeeping.
I've got them all. Yep. Yep. You can always call me in the morning. I usually know. Okay. So do we want to have a motion, please, to accept the minutes with those changes made? Judy, you can like that.
Oh,
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of May 6th.
I'm happy to second.
Any further discussion? If not, we'll call to order. I'll call for a vote.
Long day of
Sorry.
meetings.
All those in favor of accepting the minutes of May 6th with the necessary corrections, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Okay, the next is our new business. We have appointments to boards and commissions. First, we have our Sound View Commission. I did reach out to Frank Papalardo this afternoon. Again, I emailed him last night. I said, here's your 2. Please let us know. He has not let us know. He was going to reach out to some other people on the Sound View Commission to see what they thought. But he did not get back to me by 5 o'clock tonight. So I don't know if you want to vote on this, if you want to wait. It's not certainly something that's pressing. It can wait 2 weeks if we want it to. I don't know what your preference is.
I do not know either one of the applicants. Jim, I think is much more familiar with the area and the applicants, and I would take Jim's lead.
It's really how comfortable you are without having Frank weigh in. I mean, I can certainly go either way.
I mean, he said he knows them both
Yeah.
and he's familiar with them both, but he didn't want to give me a recommendation over the phone.
Okay,
No.
so
Um,
that's his prerogative, I suppose.
So would you like to?
Like to make a motion to vote on the appointment
Okay.
to the Sound View Commission.
You don't have to vote on it. We need
No,
to.
I just well, make an appointment to discuss,
Okay,
make
so
a motion to discuss appointments to the Sound View.
With Frank,
Do you want to give a name
All right,
or just want to talk about it?
I would like to, make a motion to nominate Paula Malillo to Sound View Commission.
Okay,
as I said, I'll take your lead on this, Jim, seeing you know the area and the people. I'll second that.
And the reason I do is, I know them, I know Stephanie and Paula. And Stephanie is terrific. And the only reason I, wouldn't want to see her, I see her and Frank, Murata as an either or. Frank,
As a what?
either or situation. You know, Frank owns the pavilion
Yep.
and Stephanie is the manager of the pavilion.
Oh, I did not know that.
So to have.
You know much more than I do about that. That makes sense.
On the SBC,
Okay.
might open us up to accusation, but, you know, having their opinion go away.
Got it. Totally, yes, I agree with that.
Great person, would be an asset to the town in any context. I just see her and Frank as being an either or, and Paula is at every meeting of the SBC, very knowledgeable, very dedicated to the community, very intelligent. So again, you know, it's a win-win for us. They're both terrific. So I'm tipping it to Paula.
Okay, sounds good.
so if no further discussion, we'll call for a vote to appoint Paula Malillo as the alternate position to the Sound Review Commission. Her dates will be filled in by on board. We'll get that because she'll be replacing Bob Carlson, who moved up to a full-time member. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous. Okay, now we move on to the zoning commission. We have an alternate position at the zoning commission. Mr. Orzell has been kind enough to review both applicants, Michael Foliano and also William Folland. And he has written us a letter, not only recommending, but also explaining why there is an alternate position. He would recommend that we appoint Mr. Foliano to this position. And you both have his letter in front of you.
Right.
Is there anyone who would like to make a motion on that so that we can open for discussion?
I'd like to make a motion to appoint William Folland, and then I'll explain after the motion is either supported or denied.
I can't support that at the moment.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Michael Foliano to zoning commission.
We'll second that. All those in favor of appointing Michael Foliano to the zoning commission?
We have
Oh, sorry, open for discussion, sorry.
I think the world of Michael. I think he's done great things in this town. His wife is a wonderful volunteer. I have no doubt about Michael's abilities and his accomplishments. To me, personally, I feel like it's a conflict of interest, and therefore I recommended or nominated William Folland.
Can you explain? I don't understand how you feel it's a conflict of.
I feel that it's a conflict of interest with the other land use, i.e. affordable housing and things like that, that he's involved in.
I personally believe that it actually opens up more lines of communication, and I believe that Michael, within the last month, maybe 5 weeks, held a joint session
He did.
with affordable housing, zoning, and planning, which I think was very useful and eye-opening for all three commissions, and they appreciated the time and effort that he spent on that. So I appreciate the fact that he's including everybody and is inclusive, and I am quite sure that with Mr. Foliano's background, that he would recuse himself on any situation that would come up that might be against his grain. Anything else, Jim?
I concur, Martha, and I think affordable housing is slightly different than land use. I mean, I would agree that planning and zoning are two, bodies that you wouldn't want to be merged, unless that was a deliberate thing you're doing. But I think affordable housing isn't particularly land use. It's more housing strategy. So, I can see your point of view, but,
Yeah.
I don't see it as a conflict. And Mike's a phenomenal asset to the town.
Okay, any further discussion? With that, let's take a vote. We have a motion on the floor to appoint Michael Foliano to the zoning commission to fill the alternate's position that was Denise Savage's, which I think will expire November something in 2024.
Right.
And exact date I'm not sure of. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Abstain.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to old business. Update on the DOT paving project. As we know, it's continuing to go on. We are hoping more than ever that it will be done by Thursday of this week. And that's what Matt Weber told me on Saturday night, that Thursday is our new date that we should be done with paving. They seem to be making very good headway this afternoon. And it does look absolutely lovely. Few little bumps that they're working on down by Portland. I know there's a little bump. I don't know if it was resolved today.
No rain inside.
It may slow down the traffic though.
Good luck with that.
So that's moving along. Anyone else have anything else on Route 156 issues?
Do not, thank you.
Okay. And then we have our follow-up to our speeding concerns, the creation of a charge.
Don't pave 156 and it might slow everybody down.
Creation of a charge for the townwide safety committee or local road safety committee, whatever we'd like to call it. This is sort of been in the works. I sent you some information from some of the towns
Right.
in the state of Connecticut that have them. I thought it was interesting of how they created them as far as their members. Some are all done with town members. Some include residents. I personally believe that we should have residents on ours because I think that there are 69 miles of roads in this town. People live in various sections and we need to have our eyes on the road at all times. So people in different sections should be represented on the board or at least as an advisory capacity. I don't know how either of you feel about that. I also appreciated some of these towns that did a very nice job of keeping their overview and their charge quite succinct and to the point and didn't go into too much depth because it's not meant to be something that they will make recommendations to the Board of Selectmen, but they will not be acting on their own.
Thank you for everything you said. I have not looked at this latest piece or a lot of the other. I think Jim's point was he wanted traffic safety to also be included with community safety, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Civics, philosophy, something. So I think we really need to craft something that is not just road safety, or we do two separate.
Yeah, if you're agreeable to that, yeah, I see it. Did you have more you wanted to?
No, I don't. The spirit that I felt was, that you spoke about was, not community watchdog, but safety and watching out for others and being respectful, as well as applying that to how people drive on it.
Yeah, I had specifics when I was thinking about this, was to gather and share information concerning public safety issues in the various neighborhoods, specifically related to traffic, crime, vandalism, and issues with the natural,
Right.
flooding in certain areas,
Exactly.
beavers or what have you.
Maybe we work with our Dave
Yeah.
Barish on that as well,
Right.
as well as traffic and police.
So if we divide the town into, well, basically it's traditional old sectors, Stilltown, Laysville, et cetera.
What we already know to be
What
the
we already
section,
know to be the
right?
Sections of town, a representative from each, to meet with the police, to meet with public works. And I think a lot of the advantage to that is it'll dispel rumor because so much time spent trying to find out what's true and what's not, because people discuss things on Facebook.
Yeah, I keep
You
hearing
have robberies and then. it's
that
like-
we hide crime, we hide
Yeah.
all this other
Yeah,
stuff.
it's all this stuff, and a lot of it is, just misinformation. And so
Mhm.
it would be good to, to have a point person in each neighborhood where, the flow of information be two ways, either back to the neighborhood or from the neighborhood to the police.
I like that.
To the Board of Selectmen.
Also, it would I've been hearing since I moved to Old Lyme. It's the beach, it's the lake, it's the center of town, and by having a representative from each of the districts, for lack of a better word, or community, it may bring the town together to have a better understanding that I'm listening to you, you're listening to me, and not everybody going off on their
And
own.
there's some related issues. There are issues that happen
Mhm.
at Rogers Lake, or
Right.
at Spark, that same people are at Soundview, and it's like, so if that person from Rogers Lake goes, oh, I know that. person.
Exactly.
Soundview goes, "Oh, that person."
From my kids were all up at the town Woods Park,
Right,
things like that.
Right, so
So,
that kind of information sharing, I think, can really help. And, it's, only residents can provide those
Yes.
that kind of insight, I think.
but the traffic component would be, I think, good to have
Yeah.
a police officer's
Oh, Of
input.
course, yeah, and then the solutions could be like, the police officer, resident state trooper, whoever certainly knows the ins and outs of what's legal and what's not, you can say, hey, that's just unconstitutional, we can't do this,
Yeah.
or sure, we can do that,
Well-
that's easy, that, you know.
I have not written a
So-
charge and we had talked about it, but we haven't gotten to that, I don't think yet, but maybe we could draft something and then
So
see who would be interested.
I have two aspects. The use of the word safety committee
Mhm.
sort of throws us off because we have what is called a town hall safety committee.
Yeah.
That deals with a lot of types of things like intruders. It has to deal with issues within our buildings and things like that. We also deal with some training as far as OSHA related things,
Right.
et cetera. So I don't want to see, I do not believe that our safety committee puts their minutes on the website because they're a town employee-run committee. But I don't want to
No confusion.
intrude into their world. And I just like the word safety. I mean, I already had a few of them confused when I said I was thinking of this safety. We have one. What are you doing? Why are you
Mhm.
changing us? So I think we just have to, I like the word advisory. I mean, safety concerns or whatever we have to do. We have to just kind of tweak that a little bit, I think, so that we can denote who we are and whatever. I really would like to be the charge of something very 5 to 7 sentences, not pages long as some of ours are.
Well,
And we get into the weeds.
maybe we can make it a goal for our next meeting that we all come up with 5 to 7 lines, tweaking name as well as mission.
And certainly, I think it's a great idea for both of you. I've spent some time looking at some of the minutes of some of these committees. So if you go into some of these other towns and look at their minutes and what's on their agendas, it may give you some ideas of what those towns do.
All righty.
Please remember too, we could start off with something and then expand upon them
Mhm.
once they get the traffic safety. As far as some of the police matters, I think we really have to have Matt weigh in on that before
Yes.
we do anything further with that.
Okay.
Because he's got his state trooper hat on and he's gonna want to have a say in that.
Yeah,
I think
he's
we
gonna
would,
be key, you know.
we would welcome that. I
Adopt it,
think.
of course, then.
So, as far as, a draft charge, I think it's perfectly okay if you want to share your charge, because then we can play off it
Right.
as far as our whatever. So if you have one and you want to send it, we just can't discuss it or email back and forth on what our
But we
thoughts
can-
of it on.
Would you recommend we send it to each other individually instead of as a group?
Yes,
Okay.
or maybe we could send it to Katie.
Okay,
And then Katie could kind of meld them
Mhm.
into what she thinks. And then we'll all share all of them at our
Okay.
next meeting, but she'll sort of come in where the focus points are, of where we're sort of all hitting on
All right.
certain things. Okay, so why don't we do that? That keeps it very clean. Okay, update on the Ferry Road Sidewalk Committee. Tim provided with those new numbers. He also, you'll see an email from him from this morning. Bartlett is, he really had tried to talk to Bartlett because we took down trees. He expected that their price would go down. Megan at Bartlett seems to be a little reluctant to do that. Part of it. So we are probably, from indications here, if Bartlett stays the same and we use everything that Kelowna says they might use, we could be a little over. If we watch Bartlett carefully and we babysit our own plants a little bit during that time and we do some of our own watering, that's certainly something. I will tell you that I've had this request now. I mean, Tim has asked, did anybody have a water truck? I did see one by another town. I was going through like Slime and I thought that is the coolest thing. Duck River
Yes.
Club has asked, why don't we have a water truck? And, it's just a truck with a big
Tank
tank
up
on the
there.
back,
Mhm.
and you can take it and water some of these things. And if we had that, when we have new plantings, new trees go in, certainly, we all know that that triangle at the end of
Oh,
McCurry
God.
is
Yeah.
dangerous. And we have our Duck River Garden Club volunteers are getting older. They're trucking their own water in. Not all of our areas have water available on site, so they have to bring it. So it may be something that we look for.
Something comes to mind now. I'm not sure if someone would be willing to share, but if you have people who collect sap in town, they have those tanks on the back of their trucks, and summer is not sap collecting season.
Hmm,
Duck River Garden Club might reach out to an organization like that,
okay. If you
only
want-
because I don't know what expense is involved. If there's someone that wants to ask me who someone like that might be, I'm more than happy to share that information.
What I can do is I'll put you on an email with Duck River Garden Club,
Sounds
and
good.
then you can provide
A
that.
couple people come to mind and, people volunteer. It might be a way they can.
That would be great. Okay. Any questions on Ferry Road? They're supposed to start on May 28th, day after Memorial Day. And I reached out to Jason Wilcox today because there's another tree, another tree that has been tagged now for the 10 appropriate days. No one has written to say they're upset about it, but they're doing that so that, I think I told you at the last meeting to, so it's not so much of a curve in the sidewalk at that point. So that's, hopefully he'll have it down for me by the 28th, not during the Memorial Day parade.
At least all on its own during that.
So thank you both for coming to the groundbreaking ceremony today. I've given you some special date reminders of Memorial Day parade. I'm sorry, I skipped ahead, but I'll just do these first and then we can do general discussion. Memorial Day parade, May 27th. I believe that we need to be there. I think the kickoff of the parade is at 11,
Oh, okay.
or is it 10?
You said 10 last time and I wrote down 9:45 for assembly. I am never clear. That's what I asked you.
I'm never clear either because I feel like I come down and park at 10 because I always try to get my spot.
I usually walk over.
And then I just take a leisurely walk down,
Right.
but I will get it to both of you.
Okay.
First
Thank
time,
you.
so just-
Time would be great.
May 31st, the witness stones presentation is going to be taking place at the library. I was asked to speak, and then June 10th, please remember
We
that
saw
we
that,
were
right.
invited to the waste and recycling meeting,
Mhm.
and they're wondering about how they move forward.
Got it.
Any other general discussion items?
What time is the witness stone on 30?
I'll get you that as well.
I have 2 items and
I might have it on.
I'm not asking for just things that I have heard. One is a couple of people said they had visited Chanamaheg and the police were called on them. And I understand we have issues with Chanamaheg right now. The issue, one woman,
Is this recently?
yes,
Okay.
since our April 29th meeting. It was reported these people were trespassing. We had a young police officer show up who was not familiar with the situation, who reprimanded the local resident and she felt that she was spoken to inappropriately because she wasn't trespassing and the police officer didn't seem to know that she wasn't trespassing. I'm only asking if all the police in town have been informed to handle it gently.
So I just want to make sure it was one of our police.
I don't know.
Okay, because the
It
state.
could have
police-
been
The
state.
state police do respond during the
Right.
day.
I have no
So if
idea.
there's somebody up on 156 in that area, they sometimes will pull in.
If Matt could maybe share it.
I know he's made it known to a couple of people over at Troop.
Yes.
And I will ask him again to share that information.
And the other inquiry I have is about policy, procedure, and protocol. I am not singling out any investigation, any incident. But if there is an investigation going on within our town, is that something the board knows about or just the first select woman? And I don't know how that works. I'm curious.
In the past, when Tim was here, it was known to Tim. And then as the results came out, it was known to all.
Okay, is that, I thought maybe I could ask our legal department how that's handled, but not in this meeting.
You can certainly reach out to Mike, but it would be our labor attorney
Okay,
because it comes under a
and,
totally different realm.
okay.
And I can
that's-
get that to you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mhm.
I have a couple issues I wanted to tag on to Tana Mahig, and maybe address some of the concerns that Mr. Atkinson has, because we did have an extensive email conversation after our meeting, when he handed me a letter with his concerns about public safety on due to police response and other issues. And I indicated to him that I don't have any sort of independent authority to direct the police or to have conversations about police strategies down there, or even, you know, town strategies. We had our public presentation of the MOU and then the public meeting on the MOU where it didn't pass. And so I was indicating to him that I don't really have any kind of purview. And he was saying, well, it sounds like a lot of just bureaucratic paper shuffling on my part. And I can see how someone could say that. I'm just passing the buck. But I just sort of would like to clarify what our ability is to act outside of this forum. Now, I understand the first select woman as chief of police has authority that the select people don't, to talk to a resident state trooper, Weber, and the two of them can coordinate policy.
Right.
And that's something we can be consulted on, but it's not something we can drive. That's my impression.
Okay.
And so we have, and this isn't really even just limited to Tannamaig, because there's another issue in town where, you know, someone will perceive that you're interested in it, and they're like, why isn't anybody doing anything about this? And, you know, a lot of times I just say, well, I can't, you know, and it seems like a cop out, but,
Mhm.
you know, there is a structure to the government,
Right.
and I believe, I'm not just, you know, passing the buck.
No.
There's a structure to the government that we have to respect, where, you know, we have certain responsibilities.
Of course.
But if we step outside of them, and I have a couple times, and I've been told to get back over the line.
Well, I have a comment along those lines. In the last 10 days, I received an email from Mr. Brampton requesting that I meet him individually with my counsel. I thought about it for a long time. And my response was, first of all, I'm one member of a 3-person board.
Mhm.
I didn't think it was in the best interest of the community or us as a board to meet with him individually as a 3rd select person. And that if he cared to meet with us, I would be happy to honor whatever arrangement he makes with the town hall. But as Jim is saying, it's not, I can't do anything about a lot of things. You as 1st select person, you are chief of police. Your role is different than what Jim and mine is. So I try to be mindful of that, but that's why I ask these questions about protocol, policy, and procedures, because we don't know about all of them.
And there are times, and Mr. Carey is here, our lawyer from Sussman and Shapiro, or one of our lawyers, I should say, from Sussman and Shapiro. But there are many times that in some situations, I may know something now, but it may be called on the 3 of us to vote on something. And in that situation, to provide you with too much information may taint your viewpoint of what it would happen, because you want everything to be presented at the same time in an open meeting so that you would hear all the instances. and then go on. There's rules for
Right.
personnel issues, there's
Of
rules
course.
for legal issues. Everything has a rule. And we're trying very hard to adhere to all of those because we cannot be biased in our decision.
Well,
So-
therefore the reason not to meet with Mr. Frampton individually on my part, with or without an attorney.
Second thing I wanted to talk about was the Swan Brook outfall. I was wondering if we could get a little update. So it's on the Board of Finance
Oh, yes, I'm
agenda
sorry.
tonight.
Thank you, Jim. You mentioned that earlier.
I was going to update that and I forgot. I'm sorry, I wrote it down. So the Magnet Brothers has been in within the last week. They have taken, I'm just gonna check time here, okay. They have been in within the last week and we moved the 1 6-foot section of the eastern wall, which was remaining after the storm in December and January. So that has been removed. And we had a meeting in March with some of the people from Miami. We had Keith Nielsen here from DACA. We had Todd Macknick on the phone, going over what were our options. And Ed's thought was that if you removed the east wall, we would have better access in to get to clean it. 2, we would, he felt that things would move a little more smoothly because there would be no deterrent of the wall where sand can back up into the corner.
Right.
So we decided to try it by taking off the east wall. So since the east wall has been off, I've been there a number of times where we've had some issues of flooding on the streets, starting with Saturday, which I got a text at 6:40, and the rule is if they have flooding, they're to notify me or to notify Ed, and that we will get someone there. So I went down to the crib at 7 a.m. With my husband and a shovel, and after 25 shovels, I got the crib to there were members from Miami Beach who came over. Scott Bullinger came to help. Mr. Hazelwood came to help as well. By the time we got, Scott and my husband worked on some things, and then Scott and I worked on some shovelfuls and we got it going. So that was fine. And then later in the day, twice, we had our backhoe come to do it.
When you say our Public Works
Public
backhoe.
Works.
Okay.
So there's been discussion on whether we hire a different contractor. If we do, that will definitely will have an additional cost as well. I mean, definitely calling Public Works in on a Saturday, that's an additional cost as well. However, anything that happens down there, if they nick the side, if they do anything incorrectly, our insurance is going to cover it. So that comes into a little risk factor for me as well. Do we call them in? Do we have someone else do it? Personally, I'd like to be trained on a Kubota and just do it myself. But so we went down again today, right after our groundbreaking. It was low tide. One pipe, Western pipe, was running full Monty. I went down and again, with about 10 to 15 shovelfuls, got it going. And then George came down at the end of the day with the backhoe and took some more residue away. It is not probably going to be our solution that we thought it would. Neither is what we're going to the Board of Finance for, because the Board of Finance thing was to take out the one wall, that little partial wall. It was to shore up the western wall because there's so much sand against it that it could collapse in a bad storm. And the other thing, the thing that they are putting on is the grates, which are definitely needed as far as I'm concerned, because I do not want children going into the pipes. Although I have heard that was a pastime pleasure of many of the people who grew up in the Hornets Nest and Miami Beach area where they broke it in a tube. And it was, I said, there we go. We have our own little water park down there. But that's where we are. So I did, though, by chance today, someone stopped in from Deep. And she's retiring in Thursday, but she did tell me that there is a great deal of money available for these types of things, for resiliency and infrastructure. And she said, I'm going to send you some names of people to get in contact with. She also told me that every single small town from Stamford to Stonington is having flooding issues somewhere within their town due to
course.
sea
It's
rise.
not just how we treat our roads and things.
Well, it's also, the infrastructure is, a lot of it dates from the same time,
Right,
1880 to 1910.
Absolutely.
1920. And this one is from the 40s, but, so a lot of that infrastructure is just aging out. And the second thing is that we've had record rainfall.
yes,
You
we
know,
have.
so it's not only sea level rise.
Couple of
but,
years.
this is like an amazing amount of rain, and it's not just, where you say, well, 8 inches over average. It's that the storms come in at 4 inches at a time,
Right,
and that's just not something that this area is used to. A 1 inch rainfall used to be a big 2 inches. This is more like southern weather, Georgia, Louisiana type rainfall, which we're not used to getting up here.
So the other thing that I've thought of is, because I do agree with you, our infrastructure down there is very old. I did talk to Ed today. I said, what's the depth of these storm drains? And he goes, well, they fill up with mud, they fill up with things. And I said, well, I did walk up Portland Ave
Mhm.
on Saturday and sort of put my nose into all of them to see what was happening. I would say they need to be cleaned out.
More regularly, maybe.
Yep. But I
Couldn't hurt.
also think that if we're going to look at infrastructure and updating infrastructure, the time to do it is when the sewers go in.
Absolutely.
Because if we're going to dig up the road, then we need to put in the new drains and everything at that time. So another thing to get into the queue of what we do
With
and when we do it.
Yep.
We did it on Hartford Avenue when we did the sidewalk project. And there was, money we could use towards the bathroom. The state would not approve that, but we did use it towards drainage. And the infrastructure under that road is really 100 years old. And we significantly improved flooding.
It did.
On Hartford,
Okay.
significantly.
Good to know.
I always go down there and check it out, and, floods used to come halfway
Right
up the street,
Mhm.
Now we're in the typical spot where the lake used to be. So all those storm drains have been replaced. There's all kinds of just, Rube Gold situation with pipes, that were all straightened out. I think the same sort of thing needs to be done under Palm and Portland. That's part of the old infrastructure, and they can't handle it.
I think the only one at Hartford that backs up is the one right there on the corner by the parking lot.
And that's just an elevation thing. That's why
Mhm.
you're at 5 feet above sea level.
Absolutely.
That's what's gonna happen.
So this is something to explore. We certainly, one of the things that I would do suggest, there were people down on the beach today and Ed came down and many of them said, Ed knows what he's talking about. He's watched this for years. And Ed says if one, the retention pond was not high this afternoon. But he said if one pipe is continually running, that's great. If it starts to rain is when you really need to make sure both pipes are running. So
Needs to
we
be
have
on
no
the
rain,
maintenance.
we have no rain in our forecast. this
Through
week.
Memorial Day, anyway.
And I'm hoping that the Swan Brook can dry out a little bit because usually Swan Brook behind my house is dry all summer long. And if we could just do that, I think we could alleviate some issues. Not all of them, but this is gonna
No.
take many people involved. And we have a similar situation down at the White Sands, the private park, where marshland renovation was put into play many years ago. And there's some questions of who put the pipes in
And
to go out. And at first Ed went down to try to help them out because 2 of the pipes flew out to sea, then they came back up. He tried to replace them for them. And then we had Deep come down to look and Deep said, well, you don't really need to do that because they're not really yours. Well, who put them
Who's on
in?
there, right?
And yet it wasn't Deep. Deep did the project up to a certain point.
Mhm.
And then who continued that project? So more investigation. But if one of the things that I learned the other day is if you can join forces with two, so we have two projects, basically.
Absolutely.
We can get those two projects together.
Yep.
And work together, because we had someone from Fuss and O'Neill come to talk to flood and erosion last week. That was one of the things that if you can pony up together, we'll do better, you'll do better to get money.
How many people are on flood and erosion now? I know it was dormant and now it's well attended, for lack of a better word. Quite a few, right?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7. I think there are 8
And they're meeting regularly.
every month.
Good.
Yep.
What day is that meeting, Julia? I'll I
Thursday
can look it up.
nights at 7:00 and they're in the American Legion Room. And
Thursday.
I think it's the third Thursday of every
Check it
month.
out.
And Russ Linderman and Josh Thompson are co-chairs, and Catherine Chuma has volunteered to. be the
Linderman and who?
Josh Thompson.
Okay, great. Thanks.
So, they had someone from Fuss and O'Neill come the other day who had done a lot of the work for, is it Lime Shores or Old Colony that Ted there's done? And
Old Colony,
Old Colonies.
Sheffield Brook.
I always get those two ages confused. Yes. And how that was completely paid for. They didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, it's like 14 million.
They had two grants that ran, one for one part of the street and the other.
Okay,
So we need to find something like that.
ready. Thanks for the updates.
Okay, anything else? Okay, so with that, we are going to end our public meeting. And I'd like to go into executive session for discussion with the Board of Selectmen about pending or potential claims regarding challenges to the town's rights and legal interest in Tantanahite Road. And I've asked Mr. Carey from Sussman and Shapiro to come to update us with,
And these go off, correct?
we're gonna turn these on. Wait. Can I have a motion to go into
So
executive
moved.
session? Jude, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that happened executive session at 6:22.